Apparently dark times are coming for Aussie property. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. Well, I've got my hashtag not sponsored cheap coffee. And let's check out this article about a warning that dark times are coming for real estate. Now I love real estate. Fear articles as much as the next person. You got to eat it up and have a look at it and see why people are painting such a bleak picture. Now, I would make a suggestion. Remember those slogans when they said it wouldn't be easy under Albanese? Now, sure, it was a catchy little slogan, but the underlying aspect of it is some of the policies of his organization are putting forward. You kind of make life a bit harder for a lot of us, and perhaps, we're starting to see that manifest. What do you reckon about that theory, guys? So let's have a look. Thank you, OneNote. I know how to use you. So, I've never seen this before, but dark times are coming to real estate. For 25 years, real estate agent Adam Flynn has been dismissing his fear-mongering colleagues' claims that the Australian property bubble is about to burst. Okay, we've heard it time and time and time again. If you look at, the media would like to paint a picture that property is, unaffordable. You're comparing it to a single person's income, but we don't live in a country like that anymore. You need two people to work to equate a household income, and that's how you need to decide if you're able to buy property. And honestly, we should just throw away all the people out of the statistics who are too old to buy property, who are on the pension, get them out of the average wages because they're not relevant. People who are too young, they're not relevant. People who are too poor, they're not going to be able to buy a house. If you're on welfare, it's not designed to allow you to buy a house. Sorry if you think it should be, but it's not. So you look at the average earning of people in their prime, who are at the age when they want to buy a house, where they want to settle down and start a family. You're getting close to 100 grand per person there. So a household, 200 grand. So then, okay, you look at a household, $1 million, that's 5 times the household income. That's not too bad compared to what it used to be in the past. Compared to household income. It's just that back in the day, back in the good old days, a household could have one person as the head of the family, and traditionally it was the dad who would go and work and be able to provide for the wife, the kids, holiday, 2 cars, and a holiday, 2 cars, and a dog, and a house with a backyard. That fantasy took different forms for many people, but you could get away with it. Nowadays, it's not possible. So keep that in mind. But he now believes their dark prophecy could become reality. Speaking to Female, the industry expert and property investor claimed that interest rate rises in August or September, plus a potential further one in November, would cripple the market. The Australian housing economy, will hemorrhage and everyone will suffer, he claimed. Now, let me look at this. Bear with me. We'll bring up, what do we want to look at? The ASX rate predictor. Rate tracker, there we go. RBA rate tracker at the ASX. Okay, increased to 4.6% on the 15th of July. No, 26th of July. What? This year's going so quick, guys, isn't it? It's going so bloody quick. The year's half over already. So we've got an increase to 4.6% or 22%, 78%, no change. And we're sitting at, there we go. Let's bring up the RBA. We're sitting at 5.43% for the current cash rate. Now remember, everyone, we will bring up this guy here. Well, we're sitting at 4.35% for the cash rate target, and that influences the banks, or guides the banks, shall we say. It's now more in line with what was normal in the past, with the normal band of ranges. So don't expect it to hit 0.1% again, not unless something crazy goes wrong. Okay, so if we have an interest rate rise, which is going against market expectations, will it impact people as much as the media is letting us expect? He works at the coalface of the industry, selling houses, far away from the pen pushers at the Reserve Bank of Australia who continue to increase interest rates in an attempt to curb inflation. I mean, how much of our inflation is driven by elements beyond the housing market? That how much is it going to flow through with adjustments to the exchange rate of the Australian dollar influenced by the Reserve Bank's decision? What's the delay going to be? What are shipping costs? It's a very complicated attempt to try and manage the market. Are they doing it right or wrong? They don't hear the conversations in real time. Based on the 13 interest rate rises, people are just hanging on by a thread, he said. Yeah, I mean, people like to whinge. Honestly, people like to bitch and moan. And, I'll see it in the comments. Someone will make some comments, about how this being so expensive, and they're on one of the top echelon household incomes. It's just the way, Australians like to have a good whinge. I think it's the pommy heritage coming through of our civilization. Just the other day, I was speaking to a woman, a homeowner, who only had enough money in her account to buy her kids new school shoes. And it's not just the broken, financially illiterate who are nearing breaking point, he said. I mean, this is kind of bullshit. Okay, you have children in this country. You either will earn enough money to not receive any of the family tax benefits, or you will get the family tax benefits, which should be enough to buy a pair of shoes at Kmart. Okay, this is financial illiteracy. Remember, there's always going to be 5 people who've got no idea what they're doing, who are just winging it, or have never had, or most likely have probably never actually had to budget or worry about their finances in their life, and they're going through a learning process. That's normal. That's part of life. Is it the norm though? I don't think Australians are as bad as Finder articles tend to paint us. Australians ranging from budget suave first-time homeowners to those who had enough pull with the bank to secure loans for big homes worth millions are in trouble. Really? Even once loaded property developers are stretched too thin. Well, that's property developers. It's different to mum and dad. I've been speaking to people in every category. I've never seen it this bad. I think 30% of people with a mortgage in Australia are at breaking point. We're seeing similar things reported from Roy Morgan. They will break if rates rise, and many more will be on the brink. Well, that's okay. We don't need to worry about rates rising. The odds are stacked against it. At least the market isn't predicting a rate increase. What do you trust, the media, the fear, or the market? People will be forced to put their homes on the market to pay back the banks. There will be a flood of properties, and the only way people will be able to make one look more attractive than another is to lower the price. There's already a flood of homes on the market every spring. This will make that worse. The rush to stay competitive and sell quickly could lead to a drastic drop in house prices, according to the Melbourne-based realtor. We could see prices wipe by 40%. A hemorrhage like this will take years to recover, he said. What do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments, because this is not the first time we've heard these type of things, these type of predictions. I mean, I'm just thinking, if we go, 40% from now from Brisbane, say average is $1 million. Okay, we're going to earn at 600. What are we back at? 2019 prices? 2018 prices? It shows you how crazy it's been. So if people who were predicting a crash from 2019 prices, will this be the vindication that they've been waiting for if it's still at the levels they were complaining about? And I remember the RBA asking the banks, the RBA did some modeling to look at the potential impact of a 40% fall. It was just one scenario they ran. The media leapt onto it like it was bound to happen. It was set in stone. It was just a scenario. Just something they tested. 40% fall in property. How many of you watching now, if there was 40% fall in your neighbor's house, would snap it up with cash Or the precious metal guys? How many of you would just liquidate and buy? People won't get enough back for their homes to pay the banks or get enough back for another deposit. They will just lose everything. Then there is the sting in the tail. The fees real estate agents charge to sell, he explained. Mr. Flynn expects prices of property across the country will fall quickly. And he's preparing for a record-breaking amount of homes to flood the market for a quick sale over Christmas and January, when things are usually quiet in real estate. Okay, well, let's see if that happens. Let's see if that happens. I mean, if people are right at the brink, pushing it, going to the edge, I mean, you don't want to be forced to sell. You want to take your time. I mean, honestly, before we start seeing 40% falls in property, I think there will be enough calls for people out there to bitch and moan. Remember, this is Australia. This isn't America. They'll bitch and moan for the government to implement shared equity, to keep us in our homes. Come on, Labor. Albanese, take care of us, please. What do you think people would do? Would they sell their house and take a loss? Or would they demand the government takes a big chunk of it to save them? Knowing Australia, knowing the last few years, what's happened. Okay, knowing how little political impact the whole freedom movement had in this country, or how little push libertarian values have in Australia. Australia isn't America, everyone. Mr. Flynn says people will need to put their homes up quickly to avoid drama from their bank. We'll have to keep prices low because otherwise, after a few months on the market, their home will be stale. Then you take it off, jazz it up, do it again. Especially if other sellers come in at a lower price and get snapped up, buyers will think the more expensive house has problems, and people won't have that time. They won't be able to put up the price, engage interest, and then take it off again. The banks will want to know they're serious about selling, or the banks will foreclose. Mr. Flynn said the damage won't be isolated to a specific location or tax bracket and will change the property market and wealth distribution across Australia forever. I mean, he's making some pretty bold, bloody calls here based on some conversations. I mean, is he based in Melbourne or is he going national? I mean, can you see a 40% fall in property in Brisbane happening now? I mean, you'd be jumping at opportunities then, if that happened. If you had the capital, you know, get some cash, borrow at 50% LVR, and just start buying. We've got an Olympics, we've got population growth happening, we've got land not being magicked out of thin air. The plan for the next 30 years is not going to release enough land to meet the population requirements here in our city. So what does that tell you about property prices? What are you paying for? The crappy old house? No, they bulldoze a house. Whenever we see an article talking about an insanely expensive house in Sydney, it's not because of the shit house, guys, okay? It's because of the land. It's because of the land. That's where the value is. It's the land. And if your land happens to be a little bit closer, right into the city, there's some economic advantages to that. A total property market collapse won't be bad for everyone. The people who have never been able to own property, who struggle to come up with a deposit or get a loan, will have their chance. No, they won't. No, I don't agree with that. Okay? I don't agree with that. If we start seeing property fall 40%, how many people who do not have the jobs or the income to be able to get into property are going to still be able to get a loan? How many of them will lose their jobs? Right now, you need two people essentially with a six-figure plus income in a household. So do you think someone who's got a low-skilled job that isn't earning that is going to be at a lower risk or a higher risk of losing their job if we see dramatic impacts to the property sector? If we start seeing 40% falls in property, how many projects do you think are going to fall over? How many developments are going to end? How many builders will go bust? How many projects will be shelved? So do you really think people are going to be able to swoop in and get property? The people what it's going to do, it's just going to consolidate the ownership of property into, well, it's going to be a bloody super fund and established investors. I really, really don't want Australia to wind up like Europe or other countries where you've got the large corps owning residential houses. So if his 40% wipeout prediction is true, then people could be securing blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you could go $1 million home for 600 grand, he claims. In my opinion, the RBA have no other way to tackle inflation than to put interest rates up. But it would be wildly irresponsible for them to do it. Australia could have a new wave of first homeowners and a new money class could evolve from the ashes, he said. And of course, the super rich would still benefit. There are investors with cash waiting for this to happen. They will swoop in and buy homes for the dirt cheap. No, they will be the ones that reap the benefit. Okay? There's not going to be owner-occupiers suddenly waiting to get in. Or you'll see calls for shared equity. The next 2 years will be a buyer's market until inflation settles. Okay, we'll have to see. I mean, think a 40% crash in house prices. You're getting close to material costs there. What about the land? Then things will begin to rebuild slowly. He says the wave could start as early as the day interest rates are put up. With most people aware, they're already pushing against their limit. How old is this article? When is this from? Today? I got this today. Is there talk of interest rates going up, or is there fear-mongering? Could be a two-stage process, with others rushing to offload properties once they're unable to make the next repayment. Oh, we need to look at the psychology of this. I should ring up some of my broker mates. Because people will do whatever they can to stay in their house. I was just looking at some old, my old Google photos with the kids. And I could see, I said, okay, there we go. That's when money got tight, that period. Because you see, there's a photo of that I was selling, that, all these things. Liquidating all the stuff when I needed cash. People will do what they need to. Previously, Mr. Flynn has had confidence in the market, claiming there will be small bumps, but the bubble would never burst completely. I've never said this. I've been in the industry through the GFC, 9/11, COVID, he said. Mr. Flynn says anyone who's not prepared financially or mentally to stay put in their home for the next 3 to 5 years should sell now before prices drop. Okay, so there we go. Let's have a bit of a chat about this one, hey guys? So an industry veteran predicting a 40% crash in the market. I mean, what do I know? I'm just an architect who rambles about stuff on YouTube. But I've heard this so many times before. And there's an incentive to paint this narrative in the media because it gets attention, it gets eyeballs, it gets negative news. What's all the YouTube stuff at the moment? It's all the Mr. Beast bullshit filling the news, all the controversy there, which shouldn't really surprise anyone. So you don't want to be making life-changing financial decisions based on articles in the news. Now, the sad reality is people did. When the media was advertising the fact, what they called a fact, that interest rates wouldn't increase until 2024, some people took that as gospel. Some people believed it. They took it at face value. Because can you blame a normie for not going and watching the Senate Estimates Committee's meetings with the RBA governor, reading the even announcements from the RBA? I mean, it's good that the Reserve Bank are now holding their own press conferences and getting out there and talking and getting involved and communicating, because you can't trust the media. So what do you think, everyone? Do you think we're on the brink of a 40% decline in property, and is this going to be the opportunity to equalize everything? Or is it just more of the same? Melbourne, okay, it's going to get a bit bumpy. It'll get a bit shitty. Investors are going to get out of Victoria because of all the rule changes. The state's going to go through some sluggish times. Energy is going to get more and more expensive. And it's the Dan Andrews effect. You got shit weather, a slowing economy, and expensive, more regulation and expensive power. Isn't it awesome? Yeah, go to Victoria. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Thank you all for watching. Like, share, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.